All right, everybody, welcome. Thanks for coming by. This is Chris Petri. We're here. We're having fun. We're enjoying ourselves. We're going to do some practice compositions for the new beginner watercolor artist. And even if you've been painting a while, a couple years, and you want to jump on to this video and practice a little bit with us together, that's great too. I guess we can never practice enough, really, with our brush techniques and doing some swatches and mixing some colors. And I'm just going to really have a real free, fun time here going over some practice compositions and swatches on this paper. We're going to do different shapes. We're going to practice drawing. We're going to practice different shapes, circles, triangles, cylinders, rectangles. We're going to try a lot of different things here. We're going to kind of explain some things too along the way, little tidbits of information that you're not going to want to miss. So definitely, if this is your first time here, well, of course, welcome, and thank you so much for coming by. I know many new people come by on a constant basis, so thank you so much for coming by, and I'm really happy you're here. We're having a great time here on my channel. It's all about just learning watercolor, the nuts and bolts, the main methods and techniques of watercolor, and we cover those main techniques and methods week after week, month after month, and year after year on my channel here. So you'll always get the fundamentals of watercolor no matter what we're painting. Right now we're just doing some exercises, but every week we're working on different things like seascapes, beautiful ocean scenes and tropical scenes, and we're doing landscapes and trees and mountains, and we're doing still life like, fruit and flowers, and we do lots of flower paintings in themselves. We do a lot of figure painting, portrait painting. We do city scenes, buildings, houses. We do all kinds of great information and great subject matter here on my channel. So the main thing is, if you're just following along each week as we go, you're going to learn a lot of information. And as you just follow each week, it'll stick. The more you hear something, the more you see something over and over again, and the more you practice something over and over again, you're just going to get better at it automatically. It's just a matter of practicing. Like everybody knows, if you're an athlete or a musician, or if you're a scientist, or whatever you're doing in life, if you're doing it over and over again, repetition is the mother of skill. So the more you're repeating something over and over and over again, you're just going to build up a skill for that repetition that you're doing. So here again, we're always doing the same repetitive things on my channel, no matter what style of subject matter we're creating paintings with, or if we're just doing some exercises like right now. So let's get right into it and start. So the first thing we're going to do is, if you're kind of new to watercolor, or it's your absolute first time, your first thing is drawing skills. You're going to always want to try to be drawing 15 or 20 minutes a day. So right here, we're going to practice that. So for the next half an hour to an hour, we're going to do a lot of drawing exercises. So if you're following along and drawing with us here and painting, you're going to kind of be just developing your good basic sound skills that you need for watercolor. So the first thing I'm going to do is just come up here I have a large pad of paper here, and this is watercolor paper, of course, and it's actually Fabriano Studio. It's called Studio Watercolor, and that's basically, if you look that up online, you can find it. And we have a simple palette here. We have it's called a Prang Oval 16 set. This is what it looks like, and this too you can find online on Amazon, online in stores, in your big box stores like Blix has it, Joann has it, Joann Fabrics, and hobby shops, things like that. Your local art stores would have this for the most part, but you can get it online, of course, on Amazon. Prang Oval 16. And you open it up and you have plenty of colors. They're beautiful colors. You just spritz them with a little water, like this, with a water spritzer bottle, like this. You can find spritzer bottles anywhere. You can find, these kind of like spray bottles, anywhere really. You can find them in like any kind of pharmacy stores. You can find them in hobby shops, art stores, of course, any place like that. So, you spritz your paints. Whenever you're ready to paint, you spritz them a little bit. You're all ready to go. And then I just have a real simple setup. I have a glass here with clean water, and I have a small piece of sponge here. And this is just like a regular kitchen sponge, and I just cut it down with a pair of scissors to make it a little smaller so it fits in here with our setup here for YouTube. So you have pretty much the whole setup. And the only other thing we have here is we have our brushes. And, I have the brush that comes with the Prang set, which is this really nice round watercolor brush. We'll use this. And then you can also buy a really great set of brushes. It's called Princeton Art and Brush Company. It's synthetic watercolor brushes, and it's like maybe 6 different brushes that come in a pack. And there's square brushes, and there's a few round brushes in the pack. And there might be, I think round and flat brushes are the main brushes that come with the Princeton Art and Brush Company synthetic. It's like a 5 or 6 brush pack, for maybe like $12. So you can get some really inexpensive things to start, and just a normal, regular office or school pencil, just like this. And that's really all I have here. So that's my basic setup here. And we'll get started here. So the first thing, I'm just going to do the real simple circles. Let's do some circles here. And I'll just draw maybe a row of circles like this, and I'm just keeping the pencil down on the paper. So you can kind of see how I just start my pencil line, and I make a circle, and then meet up with the circle there. And I just keep going. Maybe I'll make like 4 or 5 or 6 circles. And we'll do another one here. There we go. So we have 5 circles. Pencil drawing is really important. And if you can draw a circle, the best way is really just to try to keep the pencil on the paper, start in one location, and just try to get yourself a nice round shape. In the beginning, it might be a little wobbly looking, no problem. The more you keep practicing your drawing skills, you'll get better and better and better, no questions asked. Basic thing with drawing is it's basically like if you're just doing like handwriting. So if you're writing or printing a note or taking some notes for school or college, or if you're writing down some to-do list things, it's the same thing. You just keep your hand resting on the paper, and then you just set your pencil down on the paper, and then you just start in one spot and then just kind of go around. And if your hand moves a little bit or slides, that's fine. But most times you can kind of get a circle without even moving your hand. You just have your hand resting on the paper, and you just go around in a circle like so. And that can pretty much get you a good circle. If you want to make a larger circle, you're going to probably have to move your hand around a little bit. So you're going to have to slide your hand on the paper lightly as you go to make a larger circle, if you want to make a larger circle. But these are smaller circles, so that should go pretty easy for you. So let's just get started here, and we'll use our Prang round brush that comes with our set, and we'll do a couple paint swatches here. So why not start out with everybody's favorite colors? Blue. Blue is probably most people's favorite color. If you surveyed people, probably half or a little bit more than half of people will say that they like blue the best out of all colors. So let's start off with a nice blue wash. And all I really did was rinse, get my brush wet in the water, take a little bit of water off on the sponge, and I check off a little bit of water here, and then I go right into the blue in my palette, and I've already spritzed these paints with that spritzer bottle. So we have the spritzer bottle, we spritz the paint just to get it a little bit moist, not too much water, but enough that you just kind of moisten up the paints and you're all ready to paint. And when you're done painting, you can just leave it like this and come back the next day or a couple days later or a week or 2 later, doesn't matter. These paints are incredibly user-friendly. You don't have to worry about anything but just spritzing them before you start. You paint however long you want to paint, you spritz them, you paint, and then when you're done, you can just leave your watercolor set, your Prang Oval 16 watercolor set, you just leave it. You can fold it up and put it away if you want, or you can just leave it out. No fuss, no muss. These are great watercolor sets for anyone that's just starting out, or if you've been painting a while, maybe a couple months or maybe a year. You can still use a set like this and have a great time. And then eventually you'll work into like a better set of watercolors. Maybe you're going to buy some tube paints, some more permanent paints that are more, the paints are going to not fade as much. If you buy really good squeeze tube paints like this. So if you buy paints like this in the tube, and you buy like good brands like Winsor Newton, Holbein, there's other Schminke paints, there's Daniel Smith paints, there's different brands you can buy, right? Those are really top quality paints. When you paint a painting, it'll stay vibrant. The colors will stay rich and vibrant and exciting for a long time, 10, 20, 50 years, even longer. if taken care of properly, a watercolor painting will last a long time, hundreds of years, and still look really great. If you're using these paints here, these are more for if you're just a beginner and you're just starting out. You're probably not going to be painting paintings that are like, that you're going to want to put into a museum or maybe auctions or going into competitions and things. You're just starting out. You try out your watercolors when you first start with the praying set, and then as you get better and you want to invest a little more money and you find that things are going well for you, well, then you're going to pick up some of these paints too. You're going to pick up the better paints, the tube paints. And you'll learn about that too on all my videos. You can go into my archives on YouTube and you can see how I have all different palettes with the tube paints and everything like that. If you want to research anything like that, you just type in Chris Petri palettes, Chris Petri paint colors. You just type in my name and whatever you want to learn about on watercolor, brushes, pencils, whatever, drawing. You just type my name and then whatever you want to learn about, and you'll see the videos. I have about 250 videos in my archives, so you can always go back into the archives. So let's keep going here. Let's do a green. Green is a very popular color too. People really enjoy green. Green's probably like if you surveyed people, probably 30% of people would find that they really like green, and that might be one of their favorite colors actually. So green and blue are your two most popular colors that people enjoy the most. So if you're painting any paintings with these two colors, you're going to have a lot of people that are right away going to enjoy probably the painting because these two colors are really very popular with people, just in general. So again, I'm just doing the simple, getting some paint out on the palette, a little bit of paint, a little bit of water, and then we're just going on the same way we did for our pencil sketch. We're going to use the brush the same way, hand resting on the paper, brush gets touched down onto the paper, and then we just move the paint around until we're filling in our circle, just like that. And that's pretty much the technique of painting in watercolor. You're just going in, you're grabbing your paint. Sometimes you won't even go and mix anything on the palette. You'll just go in and get straight paint and then just put that paint right onto the paper. Depends what kind of color you want, how thick you want your paint. You can decide what kind of painting you're going to paint. You're going to paint a painting with a lot of light washes, or you're going to paint some paintings with some really rich, exciting colors in them. So it's all up to you. You're the artist. You're going to decide what colors you'd like to put on the paper. You can go over your pencil lines. So if you paint over your pencil lines, that's fine. We're just trying to get the feel for painting into a circle shape. And then we'll go, maybe let's do a red. So I'll just go right in and get a red like that. Maybe I'll add a little water to it. We'll make this one a little more transparent. We'll add a little more water to it. And then we'll make this a lighter wash. Not as much paint, a little less paint, a little more water. And we just move our brush around. Again, you can see my hands resting on the paper the whole time, and then I'm just moving my brush around carefully. Just as if you're writing. So if you're writing notes down or printing out a letter, or if you're in class taking notes, or if you can just think of it that way, your hands resting on the paper, and your brush is pretty much like a pencil, except that you're kind of moving around the paint versus maybe writing letters. You're moving around paint versus writing letters like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. Instead, we're doing just the motion of moving around the paint and getting that paint onto the paper. And where we want it, we're placing it right into that circle like that. All right, let's keep going here. We'll do a yellow. And this is kind of like a lemony yellow. This is a nice color. Interesting, it's kind of like a lemon yellow, cool yellow. So it's not that warm. It's kind of a cool yellow, like a lemon yellow. That could be a lemon. There we have it. So look at that. We've already created a couple of interesting shapes of the circle. We've drawn in with our pencil our circles. Now we've painted right into our circles. So now you're starting to get the feel of watercolor drawing first, and then going in and doing your painting into your shapes. So whenever you're drawing in your watercolor paintings, you're going to draw shapes. It could be a square, circles, could be odd shapes like a tree or a rock or something like that, anything like that. But the main thing is you're practicing and, kind of using your focus and your mental energy and focus on getting the drawing done first, and then getting in and getting your washes right into that shape that you've created with your pencil. And that's really the two main things you're going to do with watercolors. You're going to get your drawing in with your pencil first, and then you're going to start putting in your washes into those areas that you've drawn on your paper. So that's really the basics of it. So we've practiced circles. Let's do squares next. So we'll do some squares. I'm just going to take a quick break, and I always mention if you can give me a thumbs up, that would be awesome. Thumbs up really help my channel on YouTube, so it'll get more popular. People will come by and join us all together as we're working here, and it'll be really exciting too if we have more new people coming along too and joining us. Isn't that great when you started out with watercolor your first time and you're getting into it and learning and watching the videos and practicing? Isn't that fun? It's free. You can have a great time with it. It takes your mind off all the other cares of the world and what's going on in life. You can just lose yourself for a couple hours and get in and start doing some work. We want a lot of people to come along too with us and join along and have that fun and that enjoyment of art and painting with watercolor, so that they can too have a little bit of freedom from their cares and worries in life, because we all have them. No matter who you are, you're always going to have some challenges, some problems, whatever else. I'm not trying to turn this into like a psychology session or anything like that. All I'm saying is the more people that join along with this, we're going to have a lot more fun together, because other people are going to be coming along, and if you're thumbsing up my videos, people are going to get more excited about it. It kind of drums up more excitement, and YouTube actually will share my video with others a little more if they see there's a lot of people here that are thumbsing up, the videos and liking my videos. So I hope you will do that for me. It really just takes a second. You just go down below in the video. I think it's over here on the middle section of the video. You click the thumbs up. It's actually over here on the left side. And also, too, if you want to subscribe to my channel, if you like what we're doing here, great. Just hit subscribe, and all that's going to do is you'll be notified when our next video comes out. And this way you can keep going along with us here on YouTube and joining along and doing the work that we're doing here. And again, this is more of a exercises type video, but we do tons of other videos. This is more your offbeat type of a video I might do. I don't do these quite often. I do these every once in a while. Some swatches, some colors, some techniques, some methods in watercolor like this. But I want to do this because I know there's always new people coming in, and there's also some people that have been here for a while, and they want to maybe brush up on some of their skills with watercolor painting and drawing. So that's why I'm doing this. I'll be back as soon as I can. I'm just going to take a quick break, grab a cup of coffee, and we'll get started again. We'll do some squares next. Okay? All right. Be right back. All right, so let's get started again. Now we're going to kind of move into let's work a smaller square brush. So we used the round brush here, and we were able to really work some really good washes here with the circles. Now we're going to do some squares. Let's try a little bit of a smaller brush here for our flat brush, small flat brush, square brush. This is a number 6 by Princeton Art and Brush Company. And again, this comes in like a 6, like maybe 5 or 6 brush pack kit that you can buy online on Amazon. You just type in Princeton Art and Brush Company. And if you look, you'll see that this is like a wood tone looking brush handle. And then you'll see the pack. And usually the brush hairs, when they're new, they're white. So these here have turned a little bit of different colors because I've painted a lot with them. But the brush hairs will be kind of white, and they're synthetic hairs, which means they're not going to be, you're going to have an easy time handling them with water. They're not going to hold too much water. They're going to hold just the right amount of water for you to get your washes on really effectively. So let's continue on here. So let's do the same process we did the first time when we did our circles. Now we're just going to do squares. Now if you want to, you can always use a ruler It's always fine to have a ruler with you all the time when you're at your art station. You might work at your kitchen table. You might work at your stack tray in your easy chair. You're kicking back. You're having your coffee or your iced tea, and you're in your easy chair. You know, you have your little maybe stack tray with your art supplies on that. That's great. Keep a ruler with you. Rulers are great to have. They really work great. And, you know, they help a lot with leveling things out so that you're not tipping and things like that. If you're doing different exercises or if you're creating a painting, sometimes you want to keep some things pretty level in your painting. So a ruler will definitely help you. You know, you can measure a little bit. Like right now, we can just measure down and say, well, let's make our next squares sitting on top of the 4-inch mark here. So there's a 4-inch mark there. Let's go over here. We'll do the same thing. We'll mark a 4-inch mark here. I'm just doing this, you know, very haphazardly, but, you know, in a kind of a systematic fashion here so you can kind of see what I'm doing. So I'm just measuring down equal distances from the top of this page down. And that means that this line that I'm going to draw across here is going to be level. It's going to be perfectly level on the paper, just like that. So now it's a perfectly level line. And once you have that perfectly level line, then we can actually create some squares on top of it. So then now we already have this level line here. We can just go with 1, 2, 3, and go over that line one time, 4. So now you have a nice square. Then I can take a darker pencil so maybe you can see it a little better. I know I have some brand new lights here in my studio. You should be able to see all of these lines, whether I'm drawing them light or dark, but maybe I'll go with a little bit of a darker pencil line there. And we'll do this one a little darker too. And this happens to be a 2B, the number 2 and B. That would be a softer lead pencil. So you'll kind of see that it's a little darker. You don't have to press that hard and you still get a really dark pencil line. These are great to use if you like to see pencil lines in your drawing. Some people don't like to see pencil lines. That's when you might use a lighter type, maybe like a 2B or an HB, like an office pencil is usually an HB. Or you can just make a mental note to not press as hard, and you can get a lighter. So any kind of pencil you have, no matter what pencil you have when you're using it, if you just hold it lightly and don't press as hard, you'll get a lighter line. Or if you want a little bit of a darker line, you just press a little harder and you'll get, you know, the darker line that you might like. So it's up to you. You're the artist. You'll decide how dark or light you want your pencil lines in your paintings, in your watercolor paintings. I happen to like seeing pencil lines in my watercolor paintings. So for me, I enjoy that. But maybe a lot of people, you know, some people don't like seeing pencil lines in their watercolors. So that's fine. You decide. You know, that's how much fun watercolor is. You just decide as you go along. You work out all your techniques and kind of, you can even write them down if you really like to take notes and things. Like I'm a big note taker. I take notes all the time in artwork or if I'm at work or wherever I'm at. I take tons of notes, and this way it just keeps it more, you know, in my memory banks. So I always take notes, and then you can take notes and just say to yourself, let me try it out. Do I like seeing pencil lines in my watercolor paintings, or do I like just more of a very, very faint, light pencil line in my watercolor paintings? So you'll decide what you like better. You'll try a little bit of each, and you'll see what you like best. So now let's continue on here. Let's maybe go with a purple. Let's try a purple, and I'm going right into the paint. And I'm not really going to, let's take some of this paint and work it out on the palette. So I'll take some of that straight purple paint, put it on the palette, then I'll dip into a little bit of water, and I'll thin it out a little bit. So we have a little bit of a thinner purple paint. And then what I'll do is I'll just take that thinner purple paint, and we'll go any old way we want to, just to fill in the square, like this. There you go. Okay, we have purple. Now we'll go with let's use some brown. You can go any way you want. when you're painting these swatches, you can paint the outside first, like this, and then you can paint the inside. Like that. That's fine. And you can have different things. I usually, I would say many times I'll usually kind of teach people different stroke methods, brush stroke methods. So maybe like we'll do red, like this, and we'll do, let's do a Z stroke. Basically a Z stroke is you go across once like this, once across like this, and once across like this, and that gives you a Z shape. Then you go back in and get some more paint, and then you just fill in the rest. So basically your Z shape gets you halfway there, and then you fill in the rest. You can also do an H stroke. Let's try an H stroke. Let's try a lavender color. Lavender is always a beautiful color to use. Let's do that. So we're going to do an H stroke with lavender. So an H stroke is basically we go once like this, once like this. So we make the letter H like that. Then we go back in and get some more paint, and we finish up with these two spots right here. And then you have a H stroke where you can really effectively get in there quick and get a good square or rectangle with a square brush fast. And if you practice that a lot, you'll wind up actually painting that way. You'll go in and just go bam and just do an H, letter H or letter Z quickly, and then fill in the rest of your area that you're painting in, and that'll make you faster at watercolor. Always remember, just a little tidbit of information, you're the artist, you have to kind of make a mental note of what I'm saying here. Maybe you jot this down on a paper, or a notepad, maybe you have a little notepad you keep with you when you're watching anybody's videos, my videos, or your other favorite artists you have on YouTube. Jot down little notes and just kind of remember some of the favorite things you're hearing that you think really resonate with you and really are clicking with you. But speed is really important with watercolors. If you can be quicker and have practiced a lot with your brushwork first, a lot, then when you're doing your paintings, you're going to be faster. And faster and speed is really critical with watercolor, because we all know if you've been painting only a short time, maybe 6 months or 2 months or 3 months or even 6 months or a year, you know watercolor dries fast. So when you're painting a painting, kind of one of your advantages is if you can paint quicker, you'll be able to kind of keep the flow going with your washes and keep everything kind of, melting together really nicely and kind of, smoothly working together all your washes. Whereas if you're just painting a couple brush strokes and then you're kind of over here working on your palette and you're forgetting about your paint, those paints are drying on you. And if you take too long over here and then you go back to go over here, you're going to notice, wow, my paint is already dry. And then you'll have an awkward looking maybe wash. Let's kind of see what I want to demonstrate what I'm kind of talking about so you really can see what I'm saying. So let's say we're doing a painting right now. Hypothetically, we're doing a painting. And then let's say we're going to use, let's do a green. All right, so we're going to do a green wash here. A medium wash, a little bit of water, a little bit of paint. Now let's say I decide I'm going to just do a couple bits of wash up here on the top. Like this. Like that. Now let's say I come over here and I say, oh, you know what? I want to mix another color that I'm seeing in my painting or in my reference photograph, or if I'm working from another person's watercolor painting or anything like that. You're doing you're working from someone else's paintings or from a photograph, or maybe from still life. You might have something set up in front of you like a vase of flowers or whatever. So now you're trying to come over here and think of, oh, gee, I need to mix another color. Let me come over here and mix the other color. I have green there. Okay, that's the green leaves that I'm painting. Well, now I need some flower colors. Well, I need some red. Okay, let me mix some red over here. And then you're going to come over here and work on your mix for your flowers, your red. Maybe you'll mix a little purple with your red over here. So now you're over here mixing like this. Mixing up some red and purple for your flowers you're going to paint next. But what you didn't realize is as you're mixing up this paint over here for your next bit of flowers underneath this, this is already dry. It's almost dry already. So now when you go over here to maybe mix these two together, it might not mix together too well, because it's already dry, the green. Well, maybe that worked out good this time. Maybe we got there just in time to kind of mix those colors together. But we will make a note that it was drying fast, the watercolor paints. So the quicker you can move and get your washes done, the better off you are. Because then you can move quick. You can move quick from mixing colors and get back to your paper and to your painting. Good note to make. Just remember, the more you're practicing these type of exercises, the quicker you're going to get at mixing in your palette and also getting your washes onto your paper. That's just the fundamentals of watercolor, basically. Okay, so now we've gotten this. Let's start maybe going with a little bit larger. Let's do a larger square, a larger swatch here. So now let's take our ruler again, and we'll just rest it down, and we'll maybe give ourselves some good amount of room here, like that. And I'll just go across like that. And then maybe I'll make some larger squares. Let's do something like this. I'll do 3. And I'll come across here and just get the bottoms a little bit good, like that. Okay, 3 squares. Now we're going to bump up to a larger brush. So now we're going to use a square brush again, or a flat brush again, and this is a 5/8 brush, wash brush, flat brush. And again, it's by Princeton Art and Brush Company, and it comes in that set we were talking about earlier. So now I'm going to go in and get my water, dampen up my brush, get some water on there. Let's try some green, some turquoise green. Let's mix out a little bit of turquoise green, put a little bit of water in the mix. But you can kind of see I have a good amount of paint in there. Okay, and then we'll just go across here, and we'll start right at the top. And now we have a larger brush, so we're going to be able to move through this quicker. And that's another thing about you'll learn about watercolor and speed and working quickly, is the larger your paper is and the larger your painting is, you just use larger brushes. Simple as that. You wouldn't want to paint this swatch that we're doing right here. You wouldn't want to paint this with a small square brush like we're using up here. So you can kind of see how this would be too small for this type of larger square that we're painting. This is perfect size. You can get it 3-4 zips here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and you've got it. If you were to use this, you'd have to go, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You'd be working too hard to try to get this area covered with a small brush. So you just always remember, the bigger your paper is, or the bigger the area that you're working in, you just want a larger size brush. So that's why the sets are really good when you're purchasing the paintbrush sets. You have a variety of sizes of brushes, which is really important. Okay, so let's do another one here. Let's do some blue. That's a really nice blue. It's like a sky or ocean blue. And we'll just go right across, same thing. Maybe we'll do it a little different this time. Now we'll go across this way. Then maybe we'll just take our brush and maybe we'll try to go this way. And this is another fun thing you can practice. Different ways of using your brush. You can go horizontal like this, horizontal strokes. Then you can do vertical strokes going this way. And again, the whole time my hand is resting on the paper, and I'm just sliding my hand across the paper really gently, just resting the brush on the paper and sliding my hand. And then over here I go across this way, horizontally if you want. And then you can even go this way too. You can go vertically. The only thing is you don't want to lean in any paint that you've created. So that's another thing you always remember with watercolors. You want to try to avoid resting your hand in wet paint and at anywhere possible. and I always mention also too when I'm teaching students all the time, is if you're right-handed, you're going to be working from your left side of your painting and going this way. If you're right-handed, you're starting on the left side of your painting and working this way. If you're left-handed, you're going to be starting on the right side of your paper and working this way. This way you're not leaning into your paints as you're working. That's kind of just a simple principle that really works great with watercolor and any kind of painting really, but especially watercolor, because as a watercolor artist, a lot of times you're kind of resting your hand on the paper and getting a good foundation and a good strong technique of keeping your hand resting on the paper so you can be accurate with your brush strokes. And then let's try one more. Let's do an orange, a warm orange, which is toward the red color. And then let's do these upwards here. So I can always rest my pinky on the paper and start here and just go up like this. So now we can practice these upstrokes like this. And then once you get to this point, then you can turn around the other way and just make sure you're accurate on your top portion there like that. And again, the more accuracy you can have, the better off. Practice accuracy. Once you get painting, and maybe eventually in a year or two from now when you're working more often with watercolor and you're painting more paintings, you're really in the flow of things, then maybe you're going to get a little more free with your watercolor paintings and you're maybe not going to worry about being so accurate with the pencil lines and painting within the lines. But if you start out more accurate, you can always loosen up and do a looser style. So if you start out tight, working in a tighter style like this, practicing the circles and the squares, getting accuracy, having fun with that, then eventually you'll practice doing a looser. We'll do some more swatches here. We'll practice a looser style now. So I'll demonstrate how you can do a looser style of painting where you're not really resting your hand on the paper, but maybe you're holding your hand up above the paper and you're painting like this. So you can kind of see how a looser style might look or feel. Okay? All right, so main thing I want to do right now is take a quick break. We've been working 10-15 minutes already at least. So what I'll do is I'll change my water when I take this break right now. I'm going to change the water out, put fresh clean water in here. I'll wipe down my palette here, clean up my palette. Once you get a lot of paints in your palette, always remember, grab a paper towel. Grab a paper towel when your paints are all out on your palette and getting all full of paint. Grab a paper towel, dip it in your water, and just get in there and wipe all these colors up. You don't want to keep mixing over the top of old colors. You want to get your palette all good and washed up and clean like this. And then you take one more paper towel. I like to take paper towels that are the half-size paper towels and then even tear them right in half like that. And then, I conserve on my paper towels. Paper towels are expensive. They're not cheap. So I like to conserve on my usage of paper towels. And there we have it. Now we're ready to go for our next group of swatches here. Let's take a quick break. I'll be right back. And again, thanks so much for coming by and joining along and practicing along with these exercises. I'm hoping you're going to take a break too, but if not, that's no big deal. I have my coffee already over by me here on my table, but I just want to take a quick break and empty out my water. So I'll do that next, and I'll be right back. All right, so we just filled up a little more fresh, clean water here in our watercolor glass here. So we have fresh, clean water. I like to empty out my water when I start to see it get a little bit muddy looking. It's nice to have good, clean, fresh, clean water as you're working so you can get these really good, beautiful, clean, rich, exciting looking colors. If the water gets too muddy looking and murky looking, that can really add up to maybe some lackluster looking washes. So always remember, fresh, clean water is always your best bet. It only takes a second. I take my glass. I have a large bucket next to me in my studio. I dump out the old water, and then I just take my new water here. I just have a orange juice container. I drink orange juice all the time, so I always have extra containers, and I just pour in some new water, fresh, clean water into my glass, and I just do that frequently as I paint, and it really adds up to a really good technique and method to keep in mind of keeping fresh, clean water all the time as you're working. And the same thing, we're keeping our palette clean by wiping it down with some paper towels. When we get too many different washes on the palette, the paint actually gets to be a little bit muddy looking, and there's some unpleasant looking mixes sometimes that can occur in a palette where we're not cleaning up our colors. So let's make sure we clean up our colors, our palette, get fresh, clean color out there on our palette to work with. So let's use the ruler one more time. I'll take my ruler right here. I'll go across the bottom of the paper here, like this. And then what I'll do is I'll maybe make another couple vertical lines here. One here. I'll come over here and make another vertical line here. And then I'll make another horizontal line here with the ruler. So I'm going to make one large, very large rectangle right here, an elongated rectangle right across the paper. And what we're going to do is we're going to take multiple washes. So this is now, we're going to have some really good fun here. Let's make some washes, and let's use our square brush again. Let's take our square brush, flat brush, and let's mix some colors. Let's start out with some red. Okay, let's start out with some red over here. So now what we're doing is we're pre-planning our color mixes for this large rectangular shape that we're going to paint. And we're going to paint it loosely too. We're not going to be kind of holding down our hand on the paper and painting. We're going to kind of hold up our brush like so. So you're going to hold your brush up maybe about middle of the brush here, like so, halfway. And then you're just going to get some washes on here the best you can, practicing in more of a loose style. So you want to practice both very, very tight and practicing loosely too, with not as much focus and energy on accuracy, but a little bit more freer, painting with your arm, your whole arm and shoulder. So if you can imagine when you're painting with your hand on your paper like this, really tight, you're painting basically with your hand and your wrist. Then when you lift up off the paper and you take your hand off your pad of paper or your sketchbook or your table or your easel, whatever you're working on or working with, when you lift your hand off that stable surface, now you're having a more freer flowing technique where you're kind of using your arm and your shoulder. You're using kind of like your upper body a little bit more. And that actually adds to a really freer, more flowing style, let's say. So you can practice both styles of being really tight, painting very accurately, and then also doing some more free and flowing washes like we're going to do here. So let's keep going with that idea. So now we have some beautiful red here. Then we're going to move into some maybe orange up here. So let's take some orange over here, and we're just going to kind of mix some really beautiful looking colors right along our colors here in our palette. So now we'll put some yellow in there. These could be sunset colors for like a beautiful sunset, or basically some kind of beautiful flowers and arrangements of flowers and things like that. So we have reds, orange, yellow. Then let's get into some greens up here. I'll put some green here like that. Then some blue over here, some greenish blue. Then more of a, and then a purple. Okay, so we have lots of beautiful color here. Let's start mixing this onto our paper. We mix it out on our palette first, then we get it onto our paper, and then now we're just going to get our brush in here, and let's just start flowing onto the paper. Try to keep it within your, like this, and I would say use X strokes. Just think of X's. Think of X's. 1, 2, 3 X strokes like this. Rinse off the brush, take a little water off there, pick up some orange, get some orange in there. Keep that wash going from left to right. If you're left-handed, you're starting this way and working across the papers like so. And there we have it. Look at that, how good that looks. Okay, then we're going to move over to the yellows. So I got to put some more yellow out here. And then if you want to, you can just go back in and do a little touch-ups if you want to keep it more accurate, like this. Kind of like paint a little bit this way, then come back over here and do that. Get some of the accuracy in there too while you're doing your loose brush strokes here. Now let's start getting into our greens here. There we go, and you can kind of see I'm basically using my whole arm. So my whole arm and my upper and my shoulder, I'm kind of I'm not resting my hand on the paper anymore. I got my hand up and I'm basically just holding my brush up above the paper like this and just trying to do those X strokes like that. And then when you want to get really close to the edge of the pencil lines, then you can rest your hand on the paper to get that accuracy that you might need there. But this really works great for a more freer flowing style. So now we've kind of worked our greens, we've worked our reds, our orange, our yellow, our greens. Now we're going to start working in our blues. Greenish blue here. There we go. And again, I'm not resting my hand on the paper. I'm holding my hand above the paper like so. I've got my brush about halfway, so I'm holding my brush midway on the brush handle. So I'm midway on the brush handle. You could even go up higher and hold up top of the brush handle if you want. That's really daring. I think we should stick with halfway right now, like that. And then just take that and keep doing your X strokes like that, blending it as you go. This takes some practice. You may not get this in the first couple tries, but you keep working at it, and you know maybe after 2 or 3 tries you're gonna get it. You're gonna be able to get the whole bit of the key is get that whole lineup of colors into your palette, onto your palette, and then you're all set. Now you have all your colors ready to go. Now all you have to do is just get those colors onto your paper and flowing them across the paper like this. If you're trying to mix one color at a time, it's going to dry and you won't be able to kind of seamlessly mix your colors like we're doing. So that's the key. Pre-mix ahead of time and then you'll be fine. You'll have it. So blue and purple is next. Let's do some blue. There we go, some blue. Like that. Mix some of that blue back into the green. X strokes. And the last thing we do is the purple, like that. X strokes, and then we say, all right, now we're gonna need some accuracy here. So let's take our brush, rinse it off, dry off some of that excess water, get just a damp brush with hardly any water in your brush, and then you just touch these washes over to the pencil line for yourself. And then you have the whole rectangle, this elongated rectangle with beautiful washes all the way across, and we just created kind of like a sunset kind of feel. Maybe this is like the bottom of the sky, and this is the upper portion of the sky up here. You can do this same exercise, taking your rectangle and turning it up this way. Maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll do that next. Maybe we'll take this same exercise we just did this way, and we'll turn it up and make it vertical so that we're going to actually create a sky wash. So let's do that next. That's going to be really a fun exercise. And I'm going to use a little bit of a larger brush. You can do this in a smaller version, but I will use my largest brush I have right now with my Princeton Art and Brush Company. I have the 1-inch brush, which, as you can see, pretty wide. So we'll be able to cover a lot of ground with this one brush. So if you're painting large paintings, this is the way to go, a large 1-inch brush. maybe we won't paint as large. Maybe we'll kind of go back to a smaller scale like this, but we'll do this same idea here. But I just wanted you to kind of see if you want to start practicing here and there, a larger style with a looser feel, you can start doing that. You can start getting larger washes onto your paper. You can cover a lot of ground pretty quick. You know, this is like maybe 3 inches by about 10 inches. So you can imagine you could have a pretty large sheet of paper and if you practice this method and this technique right here, doing this exercise, eventually, you know, after a while, you'll be able to do a large painting, get all your washes on really beautifully like this, and have them all like, you know, basically melt together and look beautiful. And that's what we want. We want to kind of have that really seamless kind of look to our watercolors like this. Okay, all right, let me come back in just a minute. I'm going to start out with a fresh, clean piece of paper. Let's maybe do that now. Let's lift up this paper, and we'll get another piece of paper going here. So I'm just going to remove this quick off here, like so. Okay, there we go. So we have another bit of paper here that we're ready. We can use this next clean sheet of paper. I'm using the Fabriano Studio watercolor paper, just great paper. You can use any paper you want. You can even start out with printer paper, office printer paper when you're doing these exercises if you don't want to waste your watercolor paper, because exercises are just that. They're just exercises. It's not a finished painting, but it does help to practice on paper, watercolor paper, because then you get the feel for it and you kind of see how it reacts when you're working with it and everything. But let's take a quick break and we'll come right back and we'll do some more exercises, some more swatches. We'll kind of maybe do some vertical swatches. We'll do some interesting, maybe we'll do a sky wash first and then we'll see where it goes from there. Okay, all right, so let's come back in just a second. All right, so we're going to get right back started here. I'm going to just empty out the water. Fresh water, fresh clean water. Maybe I'll spritz a little bit with the paints here. And then I'll spritz a little bit over here. Maybe we're going to leave these colors here because we can leave these colors. We're going to do the same thing in a vertical fashion here. So let's take our ruler. Let's do a vertical wash like so. So we'll take our pencil and we're going to make a rectangle here like so. And we'll just go across like this. Maybe we'll make one. We'll call this a graded wash. And then you can always label your exercises as you go. So this one here we're going to call a graded wash. And we'll call this sky colors. So we have a graded wash and we're going to do sky colors. Now I'm going to use my larger brush here, which is a 1-inch brush. Princeton Art and Brush Company, 1-inch brush. Easy to find online, in our art stores too. So I'm going to get the paintbrush damp. Then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say, we're going to mix up our colors again. We're going to do this as sky colors. So let's do the purple up here. Maybe a little bit of brown into the purple. The reason I'll do that is just to make it a little darker. So you have a nice dark, maybe even a little bit of black, just one little tiny touch of black in there. Then I'm going to rinse off the brush. Some blue here. Then we're going to rinse off the brush, take off the excess water on the sponge. We're going to take some yellow. We're going to mix some yellow right in here. This part of the palette right here, yellow. Rinse off the brush one more time. Tap off some water. Then we're going to get some orange. like that. And then we'll do some red here. This is more of a warmer red, and then we'll go with a cooler red here. That's a cooler red. So we're going to use all the colors of a sunset. The top of the sky is darker, where the blue, cool, highest areas of the sky are. The blue, cooler purple and blue up here on the higher levels of the sky. And then as the sun is setting over here at the very bottom of this rectangle, you'll see the warmer colors like the golds and the reds. So let's start out. Now what you can do for an additional bit of fun, we'll take some of this water and we'll just use a damp brush and we'll go right across this whole rectangle with a damp brush like this. Just a damp brush though, not too much water, just enough to dampen the paper, just like this. So as you can see, we've just dampened the whole bit of paper here with a light damp brush. We rinsed off the brush, took off a lot of the water on the sponge so that you just have a little tiny bit of water left on there, and you just dampen the paper all the way down, just like that. Now we'll go back in, do the same thing, rinse off the brush, take off some of the water, and we'll go in and get our purple and a little touch of brown in there, just so we have the dark. Now if you start to see that some of your wash gets out of control, no problem. You have a tissue on hand. Keep your tissue next to you on your art table, and you can always blot up a little bit like that. So always have your tissue handy to blot up a little bit if you see some washes that are getting out of control. But here you can kind of see we're starting off with that really dark purple. You can even go in and get some more purple like that, straight in the palette. And then again, if you start to see too much water dripping down, lift it up quick like that, because you're going to go right in here next with the blue. So here we rinse off the brush, take off some of that water, and go right into the blue now, into that blue water, to that blue wash, I'm sorry, blue wash, and do that. Now we have some of that blue working for us. Now rinse that off, and then maybe pick up this blue here and just mix up a little blue like that. Why not? You can always experiment as you go. Does that not look fantastic? Look at that. Wow. Gorgeous looking washes already. And we're just starting. All right, so now we're rinsing off the brush again. Now you see this bead of paint, water and paint, which is our wash. You can always take if you think it's too much water, and this might be too much water if we start doing another yellow and orange wash under here, this might flow too much into that wash. So what we'd want to do is take a tissue and just blot up that thick bead of paint that's flowing down, and that's it. You blot it up onto the tissue. Now you're ready to go, and we're going to go in and grab our yellow and orange. Go in, straight paint. Just like that. Blend it in. And there we have it. Gorgeous washes of watercolor. You can't do this with any other medium. Watercolor is unique in that way that when you're mixing all these beautiful colors, you can't really do that with acrylics or oils or pastels or any other medium. Doing these beautiful washes like this, that's unique to watercolor, and that's what really makes watercolor great. You can get tons of beautiful variation. So now we're just going to go in and get our orange red, like so. Maybe a little more yellow here. Like that. Perfect. Now let's come down here and let's start getting in our cool red. Perfect, look at that. Beautiful sunset colors. Okay, and then if you see your paint dripping down, too much puddles, we take our tissue, we roll up our tissue like this, and then we just lift up. Like that. Then we can dry off our brush, too, on the tissue like this, dry off the brush, and smooth out that wash, just like that. And there we have a graded wash, a graded sky wash, a sunset. So we can even call this a sunset. Really, it's a sunset. All right, now let's try another graded wash. Now we'll just do a maybe we'll do a sky and field, like a mountain and a field. So let's empty our water. You can see how muddy looking that water is. Let's empty this out. There we go. And then we'll do the same thing again here. We'll take our ruler. We'll get a rectangle. We'll make it the same, basically the same size as this one. And then I'm careful not to, maybe I'll use, I have a small ruler like this here. So it's a half a ruler, like so. This helps out when we're on video here, making videos on YouTube. I can make these a little bit smaller. My ruler, or I have my rulers that are smaller. I can work in a tighter space if I'm working like this. Perfect. All right, so now what we'll do is we'll just kind of get the idea that we're going to make here. We're going to make a sky and some grass and some mountains. So let's go here 1/3. So the first third down we'll have the mountains like this. And then we'll make all the grass here, and we'll make the sky up here. So we'll have 2/3 grass, 1/3 sky. We'll see how that turns out. Let's try it. So now the first thing I'll do is we're starting out a new painting. Hypothetically, we're painting a new painting now. So a new painting means we need all new colors. So we're just going to take a paper towel and just start mopping up our palette. And I take a half sheet of paper towel, tear it in half, and usually that will do it. There we go. Perfect. Now we're gonna put our colors here first. So the first thing we'll do is sky. Let's even do it the same way. Sky is up here, sky's up here. We'll put some blue for our sky wash up here. Like that. Okay, then next we're going to have some purple mountains. We'll put some light purple in there for the next purple mountains here. And then we're going to go with green. We're going to go with some greens for our, I would say the brighter looking greens like this are going to be over here. And then we're going to have some cooler greens with some blue in them for the distant hills. So some purple and green for the distant hills. Like that. So some cool green with some blue. And then some warm greens for closer up with some yellows over here too. So we'll make some yellow here. Like that. And that should give us a good array of colors starting from the sky up top, purple mountains here, and then the grass and the green fields down here. And let's see how that works out. First thing I'll do is, maybe we'll do the same thing. We'll take the brush, dampen the brush, check water off it on the sponge, and just gently dampen the paper. Just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Maybe wet the brush again, take off some of the water, damp brush. 6, 7, 8, 9. And then you just go over this very lightly with a very damp brush just to gently dampen the paper. That's all. Not too much water on there, just a little dampening of the paper. Then we go back here, check off the water, pick up some of that blue, and let's start right up here. And we're going to get that blue sky in. Just like that. I'll do a little splashing like that. I'll do a touch of orange in the sky. Over here, touch of orange. A little more blue over here, just to fix up that little bit of space there. Okay, so now we have some blue sky, some orange along the horizon line. Then we're going to go in and do some purple for these mountains here in the distance. Okay, so now we have some purple mountains there. Rinse off the brush, take off some of the water here, and let's get our cooler greens. Now we're going to start doing some of these other areas that are kind of like hills and mountains here with that cooler green. Like that. And then we're going to start going into our warmer greens. There we go. So now we have some warmer greens working for us. Cooler greens up here. And then down here, we're going to go with our really warm greens here. And some gold. Yellow. Orange. Okay, this is a little bit abstract, but you get the idea. You're creating a feel of some sky, some distant mountains, purple mountains. What we'll do is we'll let this dry a little bit, and we'll go over with a secondary wash, a secondary glazing. So sometimes when you're doing a painting, you can get everything done in one wash like this here, perfect. We don't need to do anything else with this. This turned out just right. This one here, maybe if we're trying to maybe define this a little more, make it a little more realistic, we'll go in and we'll just add some washes on top of this lighter wash, because you can see this is kind of light. This wash we did here is a bit light. So we can go over with a second wash. Once it dries, though, it has to dry. So at this point, you can do two things. You can let this dry for about an hour or two, or you could take a blow dryer and blow dry this off to dry it, and then you can go over with your next bit of washes. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to come back and do some washes. I have a blow dryer in my studio, so what I'm going to do is once I turn off the tape, I'm going to blow dry this, get it all dry, and then I'll go over this with a secondary wash, a secondary glazing. This would be known as the glazing technique. So we can basically say that this is basically a sky wash, sky and we can call this sky and land wash, and this is a glazing technique. Glazing technique simply means we're going to go over with one wash, let it dry 100%, and then go over with a darker wash on top. That's a glazing technique. This would be kind of like a alla prima method where you just paint it all in one go, and that's it. It's all completed. Good to go. Okay, I'm going to let this dry, and then I'll be right back. All right, so we're wrapping things up right now. We're finishing up the video, the tutorial. The last thing we're going to do is the secondary wash for the glazing technique. So here we're doing the first wash, pretty light wash. You can kind of see this is quite a bit lighter than over here. We have darker, more richer, exciting looking colors, and we did these all in one go. That's like alla prima. You do everything in one wash. Here we have the glazing technique. We're doing a lighter wash first, and then we're going to do a secondary glazing over the top of this to kind of just make it a little more realistic. We kind of know when we were creating this swatch here that we were kind of going for that sky and land type of feel, the sky and land wash. And then again, for the glazing technique, we're going to go with just one more wash over the top. So now this wash is going to be a little darker, and we're going to go in and we're just going to get some darker purple, like so. And I think the sky is fine. We just need a little more. We'll do the mountains here a little more defined. We'll define the mountains a little more here as we go. Like that. Then let's add some brown and some green and some blue, purple, and we're just going to add another little bit of mountain here. And you can kind of see I'm just making some tree shapes like this. Kind of just tapping the paint on there with a little bit of the brush, tip of the brush. And that kind of looks like a grouping of trees across the landscape. Okay, so we're getting our darker washes in. A little bit of a tree cropping over here, like so. And then I think this field looks pretty good here. I might not do anything to this here, and maybe what we'll do is we'll just put a little bit of detail over here in the foreground. So now what I'm going to do is take some, this could be, I would say, some green and orange, kind of like an olivey green, yellow. So yellow, orange, and light green. Like this. So I have a lighter olivey green, a little bit of water in there, mix it up, and I'm going to splash on a little bit here to get a little bit of excitement. Some splashing. There we go. Then I'll take this too as well, and we're going to do some weeds, things like this. Just some upstrokes like this. See if you can get some weeds like this in the foreground. That's all. Just get some grass and weeds and things in there. Add a little bit of orange. A little more water, a little more orange paint. Splash on some more paint down here at the bottom. A couple more grasses and weeds, and that's it. So now you kind of have a field, some distant trees, and then some distant purple mountains. And if you even want to, you can go in and get some really light purple. Just take a tiny bit of purple, very lightly, and you can do a secondary mountain back here with purple. It just has to be a little bit lighter with the purple wash. Like that. And you can blend them together like so. And then you can take a little more purple. Like that. All right, that is a fun way to create some ideas when you're creating some washes. Practicing the glazing technique and doing a sky and landscape style wash. Here we did a sunset style wash, so this might be something where you're going to paint like an ocean with a sunset. So with an ocean painting, you can pretty much do the whole sky like this, and then you could add some more blue on the bottom to create an ocean kind of feel. But this is basically your fun practice time where you kind of learn doing your washes, your graded washes, your colors, mixing your colors ahead of time. These are all great, valuable practice techniques. You can practice first on practice paper, having fun in a loose fashion, and then when you go out and you grab that really good piece of watercolor paper and you're ready to do a finished painting, you've already practiced these techniques and you're ready to go. It'll snap right into place for you. But if you don't practice this first, then it's going to be a little more challenging. You might be in the middle of you're trying to do a really nice finished painting. Maybe you want to frame it, put it on the wall. Maybe you're going to give it as a gift or something. And then all of a sudden you're in the middle of it and you realize, wow, the paint's drying too fast and I'm not getting my washes on quickly enough. So when you practice these techniques, trust me, they're going to really come in handy. So give these a go. Give them a try. I promise you they're going to pay off for you as you continue on in painting in watercolor. Can't wait to work with you again very soon. We're going to be back in just maybe a day or two, and we'll be painting more watercolors, doing something a little different, of course. We always change things on my channel here, so I'm hoping you'll stick with me, and I hope you subscribe on the right-hand side below. This way you kind of stay tuned to what we're doing all the time. As each new video comes out, if you subscribe, you'll just see that video alert going into your YouTube channel. So when you open up YouTube the next time, you'll just see that we have a new painting happening on the channel. Okay? All right. So thanks again. I wish everybody happy painting. Enjoy the water